everyone, and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Dakota Lasky. We are still riding high from the announcement of Metroid Dread. Can you believe it? I thought I might wake up the next day and none of it be real, but by God, it's happening. It's coming out in October. Wow, what a feeling. My entire Twitter feed has just been like Metroid everywhere, and from people like not in the Metroid bubble too. Like this seems like it completely stole E3, completely just is the talk of the town.
No, absolutely, yeah. Everyone's talking about it. It's been looking really good in terms of pre-orders. Obviously, everyone's trying to get their hands on like the special edition, which has been almost, if not entirely, completely sold out everywhere. And the game looks really awesome. There's fan art all over the place. It's crazy how like we did an episode on Metroid Dread back in March, the game that never was, and then here we are talking about getting special editions for Metroid Dread in October, which is absolutely insane to me. I've rewatched like the gameplay, the trailers over and over again. I'm so excited for this game. Everyone seems excited for this game. And you know what? I even see people, hating on the game, which, as far as I'm concerned, is good, because if you're not hating, if someone's not hating on you, you're not doing something right. And as far as I'm concerned, everyone is loving the game. My timeline is full of positive comments. People are excited for a sequel to Fusion, a new Metroid game, the first new Metroid, like 2D Metroid in 19 years. I feel like it is actually a dream come true. It's a pipe dream come true, and it's actually like we're living it. And it's so awesome that we get to play this game in like 140 days or something, which is just insane to me. So excited for this. Everyone seems excited for it. It looks awesome. It's mind blowing, man.
And one of the absolute coolest things about this is like I said, so I'm in the Zelda community too, right? But like, man, we were talking about Breath of the Wild too, but we were talking about Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
Like that was the talk, and there's so many people that are just like, all right, I'm gonna play this Metroid Dread game. I've never played Metroid before, but I'm gonna try out this Dread game. And I think that is so awesome. It's so great to see this new game bring in new people, new eyes, new ideas to the series. I think that this is gonna be like just a really, really big moment for the series, and a big moment for, the fans that have been walking this road for the last, 19 years. And oh my God, it was such a moment. I feel like, and I will never forget when first of all, Metroid 5 came on the screen, but man, when Metroid Dread was revealed as the title, that just hit another way. That was like, yeah, oh my God, it was. And we talked about it last week with Doom and with Rod, and that was kind of funny because it was almost like we were still in like shock a little bit still, and just like processing everything. But man, what a feeling, to experience after we had started this podcast. It was a great moment, and one that I will never, ever forget. And oh my God, I'm so looking forward to the next couple weeks here on the show. We're going to be talking pretty much nonstop about Metroid Dread for the next couple weeks, and we are kicking it off today with a gameplay analysis. So we're going to be watching the Treehouse presentation, where we saw about 23-ish minutes of gameplay footage from Metroid Dread. Dak, you said that you took a bunch of notes. I actually went the other way. I knew that we were going to watch this, so I was just like, I actually stopped myself from watching it so I could kind of react fresh on the spot. So I think that this is going to be a nice mix of like what's going on here and what we're going to see and break down.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I've watched this footage a bunch of times. There's 40 minutes of Metroid Dread footage, man. I don't know how you could not watch it. I've watched it a bunch of times. I also watched it on stream. So I watched it on my Twitch stream a couple days ago, and then I just rewatched it just before we recorded this and took a bunch of notes, as you said. Yeah, I think I have like 4 or 5 pages of notes on just the first part of that 40 minutes of footage. So like you said, around like 22, 23 minutes, and we're going to do just that first part, that part one of the part of 2 parts of the Metroid Dread presentation from the Nintendo Treehouse, because, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot to say just on that first half. I'm really excited to talk about the second half, too, because there's some awesome stuff there as well. But even the first half, there's so much, and I figure, like, I had to start taking notes because I'm looking, I'm pausing, I'm looking at individual frames, seeing what's going on here. Like, this is the fact that this game even exists. Like, I am putting this footage under a microscope because I'm so excited to play it. So, why not? Yeah, it absolutely stole the show. So I'm excited to now go back to the show and rewatch it again and take a look and see what's going on.
Yeah, and we're going to be breaking down part 1 today. We're going to be doing part 2 in the future, and we'll probably even break down the Sakamoto Diaries and
Oh, we have to. We
really,
are. We're
really
going
take
to.
into account what he said, because that was a fascinating little interview that they did with him as well. And it wasn't even very long, but I felt like there was so much.
Yeah, it's like
to
6
say
minutes,
and
I
so
think.
much. Yeah, it was in a way, it was very much like hearing our Metroid Dread episode, but from Sakamoto, and he was just kind of reliving the experiences and all the challenges and the development. So very, very cool. We're going to be doing that in the future. And in the near future as well, we're going to be taking your guys' questions, theories, thoughts. We're
Yep.
just going to do a big old Q&A episode. We'll talk everything Metroid Dread. So we are going to have a real good time here. But as my partner just said, he has 4 pages of notes here, so we better get going here. Let's break it down and let's analyze the gameplay of Metroid Dread. So just a reminder to everybody, this is part 1 of the Treehouse video, and if you want to watch along with us, that's definitely cool, and I would encourage you to do so. If you're just listening in the car or wherever, we'll try and break it down and be as descriptive as we possibly can so that you can follow along as well. But if you're watching along, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a countdown, and we're going to do some commentary over top of the gameplay footage that we're seeing. So, that being said, Dak, let's go ahead and hit play in 3, 2, 1, play.
So Andy, yeah, we're watching this on YouTube. You know what I'm just realizing here? A little bit of a meta comment, but I'm realizing the backup OBS file is also going to have this fun audio
There you go.
from the video. So if we end up using that backup, maybe you'll have a little extra audio there. I'm sure we won't though, but yeah. So
Have a little extra sauce on your burger, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we're gonna take a look at this treehouse footage, which. So the first video, about 22 minutes or so, it goes through, as far as I know, I think just one of the 2 areas that we see in this, like, not demo, but presentation. So we see I think it's Arteria and Cataris, or Carteris, however you pronounce it. So I think we're seeing the former, of those 2 here.
Wow, so the amount of detail just in the backgrounds here is just
Yeah, let's pause
absolutely
first of all.
awesome.
Let's pause real quick. I'm gonna pause because yeah, the details in the back, but also Adam looks really cool. He's not just like this little, screen, I guess, like this awesome like morphing kind of. And I'm gonna unpause again here, but just this morphing kind of like look to him. Like I don't know, I like that. He's not just computer.
So there we go. So something very reminiscent of Samus Returns here, where they just kind of had the roaming save pillars and stuff like that. There wasn't like a lot of dedicated rooms. That obviously returns in Metroid Dread here, and of course the free 360 aiming that we all know and love from Samus Returns looks like it has made a return as well. One
Yes.
thing that I think that we noted on our last episode, Dak, is that from the looks of this gameplay, there doesn't really look to be a whole lot of familiar enemies. Most of the enemies look like they're new. And
So,
you know what? Let's go pause right, because you mentioned it earlier there, but let's go and just take a look at Adam's room here, which we can assume is like maybe not a navigation room, but it's going to be something maybe similar in purpose. Although I think that they said that it's not going to stop you gameplay wise. It does look very cool. I'm not the biggest Adam fan, but as much as I over here saying like I didn't want him in the sequel to Fusion, I always did think that it was kind of inevitable that he would be there. And I think that from what we've seen so far, the way that Adam is in here is, probably the best way that he possibly could be. He's going to be giving you hints and maybe the occasional direction, but it's not going to be breathing down your neck, let's just say, like maybe it was in previous games. So I'm liking kind of what we're seeing so far for Adam here. And I believe that he's voice acted as well.
yes. So there's a lot to unpack here. I'm paused at only 137 on the video. There's a crazy amount to unpack. So first with Adam, Yeah, I like that they've gone in this direction with him, that he's not going to be giving you orders. He's not going to be giving you directions outright. He's not going to be like, okay, Samus, time to go here. Like, this is what you're doing, like A to B. You're going to be checking in, and he's likely going to be like it from what they've said in the Treehouse. He's going to be giving you lore and story updates, essentially. Like, he's going to be talking to you about the story. So it seems like he's going to be giving you like updates, details. This is what's going on, like alerts probably, and then maybe the occasional like hint or something like that. He's not going to be,
Yeah.
imperative to what you're doing. He's not going to be locking you into an objective. You're going to be checking in with him. And he's like, hey, by the way, this is going on here. Or, hey, like, you might not have known, blah, blah, something like that. What I think is really interesting is, because I'm pretty convinced that planet ZDR is a Chozo planet or some kind, and we'll go into that later. But the fact that there's, like, a whole room where, like, this big, like, sphere, Adam is, like, built into it, like, were these rooms like Federation rooms where the E.M.M.I was like able to be built into it? Did the Chozo create these rooms and like that can adapt to like any AI being like downloaded into it? And why does Adam look like the E.M.M.I doors, which are both Federation technology, I guess, but it's just very interesting to me that they're both this like the amorphous like ship shifting like rippling cube look that both the E.M.M.I doors and the Adam have, is really interesting to me, and I'm wondering how that's connected. Really quickly, aside from that, sorry, I also just love how you walk in and it's all dark and like the lights are off and you only see like the auxiliary lights and Samus's suit, and then you turn it on. It looks really awesome.
Yeah, Samus' suit just looks so good, and I love how much like fan art there was immediately of the dread suit. It was just
Yeah.
absolutely awesome. You touched on something that I think is kind of cool actually. So my working theory is that Samus somehow was able to almost bring Adam with her and download her into Planet ZDR, into this. I don't know if it's one station or we're going to be exploring the planet later, but my theory was that like I could see her downloading Adam into, the network of whatever station that we happen to be on ZDR. And if you look at I guess the orb of Adam and the blue lights, it really does look like the eyes of the Emmys, but in a non-threatening color, which I think is maybe
Oh
kind
yeah,
of a neat
that's
detail
true.
as well.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't even
And
notice that.
like we've seen something kind of like that where they played like with the colors and stuff in Breath of the Wild, where like orange was bad, blue was good. So that kind of reminded me actually of like the Emmys here, because it's like blue is good for Adam, red is bad for the Emmys. So very cool. But yeah, I think that this is the best use of Adam, as a backup support player. Like I could see him giving you a similar role as in when in Metroid Prime and you're kind of off track and you're not exactly progressing in the story. Eventually you'll just have something say like there's an anomaly on this part of the map or something like that. I could see Adam being in a role very similar to that, where if you're just kind of schmucking around and you're not really progressing and you're lost, him just saying like, I've detected blah, blah, blah over in this quadrant of this sector or whatever. And I think that that's fine.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Aside from that, I know you also mentioned the enemies real quick. I was actually thinking about that more. They definitely, like, I think at first glance they don't look familiar, but I think the more you look at the enemy types in this game, they are pretty, like, feature wise, like gameplay wise, pretty familiar to like previous Metroid enemies. They just don't look the same. I think that's really what it is. Like, they gave them these more updated, like more grotesque kind of realistic enemy looking types, rather than looking more like cartoony, like 1980s arcadey space alieny looky. So I think that's kind of where they're going, because like I still kind of see like zoomers and gamers, they're just not looking the same, but gameplay loop wise you still have similar enemies. I think that's kind of where they're going with it. And also that you mentioned free aim in the treehouse, and you can see it in the gameplay too, that you can do the free aim not only when you're standing but also while you're moving, which is huge. So, I mean, being able to 360 free aim, whether standing or moving, makes the game feel way more smoother. Like, the game itself, it definitely looks more streamlined and optimized so that way, like in Samus Returns, you have to stand in place to do your 360 aiming. You have to stand in place to do your melee count. You have to wait for enemies to come to you. In this game, you're on the move. You're going to them. You're dash meleeing. You're not just doing a standing melee counter. You're running and 360 aiming on the move instead of just standing in place while doing it. So I think that emphasis on being able to do that stuff on the move is a really good evolution of the gameplay that we saw in Samus Returns. So I'm happy to see that you can have that running free aim. especially coming off playing like like Prime 2D for example, which is not an official Metroid game. Like that is a similar mechanic, and just it just feels much better.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think that the movement in this game is just going to be really, really
Fantastic.
slick, really fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's press play. I do
Yeah.
have more to say about the enemies and stuff because I think that you're right. Like all of the enemies functionally look very similar. Like those
Press and
big
play.
gross blobs that are on the
Yeah, like
wall.
right
Like
here,
they
these are
look like
like
they
these are exactly like Metroid enemies. Really, like those are Zoomers or
yeah, like
Gamers
those are
right there.
basically gamers right there.
Exactly.
But I think that maybe there's a reason why all of these are so much more grotesque and different and stuff like that. Like maybe there's a look at this guy too, and big crab looking thing.
Yeah,
But
a
yeah,
lot of
maybe there's
enemies
a reason
attack
for
with their
that.
butts too in this game. I feel like I
Yeah.
mentioned that last week, but like there was like a running theme in this where a lot of enemies were like show Samus their butt and attack, and like I don't know if that's like a thing or like someone like intentional.
Well,
I
how
don't
would you
know.
attack Samus if you were fighting her? Come on.
I I mean I wouldn't be fighting her, that's for sure. But
Well, yeah, that's for damn sure.
but like this thing coming up
Let's
here
talk
too.
about that running melee counter. My God,
Yeah,
that just looks
the
so
running melee
slick.
looked awesome, but even like right down
Oh,
below where Samus just ran by, that thing looks like a
oh,
beetle too. But yeah, the dash melee
yeah.
is awesome. That's again what I'm talking
That
about. Like
looks
instead of
good.
just having to stand in place, wait for the pattern to come about, and like for the enemy to attack you, you just go right up to the thing and just bash it, and you can immediately shoot out of the dash melee too. So you're not waiting on like
Yeah.
a cooldown. You can slide right after too. It looks awesome.
Oh, that it just looks like it's going to be so much fun, and that perhaps there's going to be room for new counters and new moves and stuff like that. And you know what? I'm gonna give other M some credit here. It looks like some of the cool animations that we even saw in other M, but like not stopping the gameplay to do so, and like you can still free move while you're doing it. So it looks like the best of that, which I think we both agreed was pretty cool in that game, and the best of the melee counters in Samus Returns. So looks very cool. Let's talk about this map too. For
Yeah,
a
I'm
sec.
gonna
We don't need to
pause for
pause it
this
or
map
anything.
here. Oh, well, okay, I'm not gonna
Oh,
pause
oh,
it.
okay.
All right, no, I'm gonna let it go, but I do want to talk about the map real quick. I mean, I'm not someone who like really. I'm at around like 325 right now. I'm not really someone who is like the map is not do or die for me for a Metroidvania. But I mean, like for example, markers. I really like. That's a nice simple addition. I don't remember
Yeah.
if I think Samus Returns might have had them. If they did or didn't, I think they did. But I mean, you got to have it. Like it's a really simple
Yeah.
addition. I think one of the coolest things about the map, or at least something that makes me think more, is that you have like the fast cursor. So I'm like, okay, maybe this map is like really big where you kind of need a fast cursor. You can't just be moving around with the regular one. So that's kind of something that's getting my mind thinking there. And also another detail too that they talk about later is the game automatically tells you once you entered an E.M.M.I region, like the boundaries of that E.M.M.I region automatically. So you don't have to like scope that out yourself, which I think is nice. But also when you're in the E.M.M.I region, the E.M.M.I shows up on your map as this fast, like red, like glowing dot that's coming at you, which I think is cool. If it's like patrolling, you can also keep an eye on it on the map too.
It just looks like a really clean map, which is very important because a lot of Metroidvanias try and get really cute with their map and like the visuals of it or whatever. And I'm a map freak. Like if a Metroidvania doesn't have a good map, it kind of sucks for me. But
Oof.
that map just looked really nice. The markers, what a great animation!
These
Like, Samus
cutscenes, man.
is falling down.
This is what I
Oh,
love, man. This is exactly the cinematics that I like
so
from Metroid. It doesn't have to be
let's
melodrama. It's like anticipatory and awesome, exciting. It's great.
let's quickly pause on Samus's shoulder right there.
Okay.
Because I feel like if you're looking at the dread suit, and I'm sure that a bunch of people have pointed this out before, but so the color motif, obviously you've got the white in there, which looks a little bit like the PED suit, but in the corner in her shoulder pads, it almost looks like the same kind of turquoise that we saw in the fusion suit, and it looks almost like organic or like stringy almost. Do you see what I'm talking about there? Where it looks like it looks like it's weaving kind of in and out around the white of her bodysuit there. So it looks very cool, and it looks really like an amalgamation of fusion, the PED suit, and the classic Vari suit that we all know and love. So I mean, this is just like it's a great design, and I'm sure that there's going to be storyline reason for this dread suit. But I just wanted to point that out and just see and just know like what was going on in Samus's shoulder pads, because I think that there's going to be more to that story and what the meaning behind that is.
For sure. You can see it all through the suit, and that's something that I feel like everybody like that's immediately what you notice when you see it. It's like you can see the metal being like surrounded by, and like you can see the muscle, like it's like it looks like muscle essentially, like the musculature of
Yeah.
something
That's a good way to
like
put it. Yeah.
wrapping through and like weaving and intermingling with like with metal and iron. It looks really sick, and definitely looks like a progression of like the fusion suit, or like the fusion suit trying to adapt and like absorb technologies maybe it's interacted with. I'm thinking maybe like when Samus arrives on ZDR, she's wearing the fusion suit, but like and ends up interacting with some kind of technology that changes her suit up here, so it's kind of a mix in between, and maybe eventually by the end of the game her suit becomes entirely like the normal metal suit and loses its organic like nature. But yeah, I love like the mixture of it. You can even still see like the tri-gem from the fusion suit at the top above the jetpack. She has like this like black and white spine. I'm really thinking that this suit, what I'm thinking is happening is that the fusion suit is mixing with some kind of technology that the E.M.M.Is are also made out of, because she has this black and white to her suit that the E.M.M.Is have, as well as her like the blue from her original fusion suit, and then like the red from the fusion and like classic suit as well. I'm thinking it's like a mixture of the two, like the old and new. It's a mixture of her previous suit and her new enemy E.M.M.I. So I'm thinking maybe the fusion suit might have tried to adapt some like E.M.M.I technology. Maybe the first time Samus is like fights an E.M.M.I, like maybe the suit reacts and like steals some of the E.M.M.I, kind of how like Dark Samus, like Metroid Prime steals some of Samus's Phazon suit to like create Dark Samus. Maybe that happens in the reverse. Like maybe the fusion suit tries to like take some of the E.M.M.I and creates this new suit. Or maybe it takes some Chozo technology or Federation technology. It sees other Federation technology lying around and kind of takes that in. So I'm thinking it definitely like 100% playing into that. It looks really cool. I love how the arm cannons, like it has like, it looks like the fusion arm cannon, but it's big and bulkier, kind of like the Prime one.
Yeah, I was
Obviously,
gonna say this looks like the Prime cannon to me. It looks like a big,
it's
powerful
yeah, it
guy
looks
right here.
awesome. I love like these cutscenes
This
looking
first person
through the
view looks
first
great.
person view looks awesome, and you
Yeah.
can see all the like the tri like visor. It's like a mixture of like the Samus Returns and Fusion visors here. Like these are the cinematics I love that I want to see from Metroid. Yeah, but I love the suit. It looks absolutely fantastic, and I think that's where they're going with it.
Yeah, I just love that the visor glows. It's such a simple thing, but it makes her look so cool. There's tons of cool lighting effects that you can do. Like everything's glowing. Her arm cannon's glowing. This E.M.M.I looks absolutely menacing coming up.
Yeah.
I think that perhaps the Metroid DNA that Samus has inside of her is going to be a thing too. Are these E.M.M.Is going to be attacking her if she didn't have that DNA? I'm not sure, but
Right.
I do think that that's going to be a big plot point here. The design of the E.M.M.I. Man, he just looks like super threatening, and it does look like it looks like there's room for a lot of cool different like evolutions of this E.M.M.I into like bigger and badder things. I know that on Twitter we were kind of theorizing that maybe there's going to be like a Ridley E.M.M.I or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Which I could totally see. But I really do love the design of these guys here.
Yeah. We hit
And
play
basically
again.
they're
Yeah.
omnipotent here. Like you cannot harm them. This one in the trailer right here
Well, it's not entirely
looks like
true.
he's a little bit beat up.
Yeah, you can harm them, but you need the right tools, it seems. But
Yeah.
yeah, we hit play again. We paused at
Let me
5:16.
rephrase. It doesn't look like you can destroy them. It looks like you can get rid of them, but
You can definitely
obviously,
put
as
them
we
down.
start,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm sure that we'll get the tools to eventually fight, confront, and defeat the E.M.M.Is as we go during Metroid Dread. But as Samus gets powerful, I'm sure we'll also see more powerful E.M.M.Is as well.
Yeah, but we get this new like this is a big part of the new kind of gameplay loop they've added, which is like the quick time event of the E.M.M.I on top of Samus. You can counter it by pressing X at the exact moment of the flash of like the E.M.M.I eye, and it'll give you a counter. But if you mess it up, then it's a one hit KO. You're done, and you're out of there.
You're booched.
So we're gonna hit play again at 5:16, which is where we get that little message there. But I like this. I'm very curious about this E.M.M.I because, as you can see, it's all. Oh, by the way, that move right there, Samus with the
That
double
was
kick to
awesome.
the
That was a
face, and then
Jean-Claude Van
ooh,
Damme kick.
I didn't even notice that at first. That was awesome. But wow, that was so sick. But yeah, I'm very curious about this E.M.M.I because obviously something's already beat it up. Like
Yeah,
it's
this
hunched
E.M.M.I
over.
is not at full power.
Yeah, it's slow. But yeah, I agree. We're gonna see like a progression. Like we're gonna get like this slow, crappy E.M.M.I, then we get like the normal ones that can move, and then we're gonna get much
You know,
stronger ones.
I think that we actually just glossed over something important there. Is we saw Samus just perform a wall jump and jump right onto right onto the ledge there. In previous 2D games, they haven't really stressed the wall jump very much. Looks like they might do so in this game, but let's talk about this shot here.
Yeah, let's pause right here at 6:05. So
Ooh,
yeah,
here
first
we
so
go.
so first of all, again, I love the integration of these cutscenes. It like this is the kind of like cinematics I like for this game, where it's nice and quick. It gives you a sense of scale, but also like impact too, where like you get these different angles and can create some anticipation and tension depending on how you have the camera angled. So that's really cool. Second. Yes, the wall jumping, I love, like, that seems to be emphasized. And honestly, the jumping looks really tight, too. Like, Samus can change her trajectory, like, mid-jump pretty soon after, like, the initial jump. So, like, it seems like you have a lot of nice, tight control. The game doesn't look floaty, which is really cool. And then, of course, yes, Samus enters this room.
Let's talk about it.
We got to talk about this thing. So they call it a central unit, and the Treehouse members specifically say that it is similar to things that Samus has seen
Yes.
before, essentially.
Very, very careful with their words here. And
Yeah.
I'm curious what your immediate reaction was when you saw this, because my first thought was like, good God, this thing looks like Mother Brain. Where I think you said that it looked like an Aurora unit was your first reaction, right?
Yeah, I thought Aurora unit because it's like bluish and
Right.
not like
And
as
I mean,
big.
Mother Brain and Aurora units look alike, so that's, it's
True.
kind of,
Yeah,
it's kind
it's
of tomato.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, very, very cool that they still seem to be keen on using these Aurora units or Mother, like what would become Mother Brain to power these Galactic Federation facilities here. So this one, for all intents and purposes, looks like it's going to actually be aiding us a lot during our gameplay and during our adventure here. So Samus can basically absorb the energy from here, and she's going to get some firepower to finally go back and combat these Emmys. So that
Yeah.
seems like it's going to be a very cool mechanic here, and I like that it's not like permanent, and that you really have to be careful. You really have to be strategic with how you use your shot. And I love the name. Let's go ahead and press play.
Well,
Let's see it in action.
Real quick before I do that though, I one thing that really intrigues me about this game though is that there's sus stuff happening on both the Federation and Chozo side of things. Like, I very much think this is like a Chozo planet, but like this is Federation technology, I would think. Maybe, or maybe it's not. Maybe it is Chozo technology because it feels like an Aurora unit, but like Aurora units are based on Mother Brain, which is like Chozo technology. So it's like I don't know what's going on. I can't wait to see what's happening. But yeah, so she touches the central unit. She does the Space Jam, touching the basketball, and she gets the powers. She gets Charles Barkley's cannon, and she gets
my.
she gets the Omega Blaster.
This is awesome. So the cannon,
Yeah.
she gets the Omega cannon. First of all, how sick is it that it's called Omega?
It's weird because
that's awesome.
the game says that it turns her arm cannon into the Omega cannon, but then the next message it says Omega Blaster online.
Yeah.
So is
maybe the cannon is the Omega cannon, but the actual fire shot is the
I think the
either
arm
way, it's
cannon's
cool.
becoming the Omega Blaster, and she's getting the Omega. Because like in Metroid Prime Hunters, does the Omega cannon change how her arm cannon looks? I don't remember. I don't think it does. Maybe it does.
You're asking the wrong dude.
Yeah, I should know that.
I mean,
yeah,
her arm cannon there is
it's like red now
instead of
and
the
bigger,
green
yeah.
that we all know. It's now red, and it breaks out into 4 parts. It just looks
awesome.
absolutely menacing,
Ooh.
and it looks like it packs one heck of a punch. Samus just shot this E.M.M.I right in the head, and this guy is down for the count. God, look how good this arm cannon looks.
Yeah, it's
and
pretty
obviously
cool.
once you use it once or twice, it's going to lose its power and just default back into the regular arm cannon, which again is something that I think is going to be really cool and add a layer of strategy to what you're having to do in this game.
Yeah, I'm curious how that works because she used it against the wall and the energy didn't go away. Then she used it against an enemy and it did go away. So like, does it have 2 uses? Does it just have like a scripted use, like she used it against an E.M.M.I and therefore it's done, but she could have used it against a wall or not? That's what I'm kind of. These save stations look really awesome, by the way. Like,
These
there's even
stations look fantastic.
yeah. So I'm curious. Like, is that an Omega Blaster from like? Is that the Omega cannon from Metroid Prime Hunter? Is just something other? I feel like Mercury Steam is aware of like that kind of stuff, and they wouldn't call it the Omega cannon just for no reason. But maybe it is a coincidence. I like that sequence though. I think it's cool. Like the E.M.M.I changes like its height, and like it's getting closer and closer. The charging's happening. Are you gonna get it off in time or not? I can't wait for those sequences against faster E.M.M.Is and whatnot. Like I really like those sequences.
Yeah, it looks really awesome. It looks very threatening. Like you know that you have one shot, but you can't mess it
Ooh.
up.
Emmy door, here we go. And by the way,
So
I love
this is
how
very
Samus
cool.
like lifts herself up with one arm, like just so badass, like casually. But look at the Emmy door, looks just like Adam. Looks cool.
So we are going into a very very dangerous zone here. Kind of reminds me of the Silent Realm from Skyward Sword. Actually, same kind of idea. Very threatening with every movement. We know that there are Emmys patrolling in this sector. Like even the way that the visuals are just like flickering, it really creates a sense of danger here that I think is really really like potent, and really gives an atmosphere. So this game, is really nailing the atmosphere that Metroid is so famous for.
Absolutely. I mean, you have like the things in the background, like to give you that like sense of like scale and like something much bigger going on. You have like this, like the mist, the fog falling down. Obviously, you have an Emmy crawling. We see this in the announcement trailer. This sequence right here, where Samus is taking on her first actual Emmy here. It seems.
Yeah,
Uh,
this one is not falling apart like the
no,
other
it's
one
not. It's
was.
moving, but it can't go through small spaces for some reason. Even though I feel like it could figure it out if it really wanted to. But some Emmys, it seems, can't go into some certain spaces, and then other Emmys can. And I'm sure there are even more stronger Emmys after that.
So this kind of looks like it looks like the best of the SAX fights from Metroid
Yes.
Fusion here, where you have an enemy chasing after you that you know you are not capable of fighting, and your only option is to run. These ones don't look like they move as fast, and there's not firepower coming from them, but you know that like if they catch you, you are completely done. As you said, we saw that in the initial Metroid Dread trailer, where that enemy grabbed a hold of Samus, then it was fade to black. So very
Yes.
very cool. And let's see. I see you already paused here. I was gonna say
I
let's
was I was
pause.
gonna I was gonna go back, yeah, because there's still so much to talk about. I am paused at ten
Yeah,
fourteen, but there's still a lot to talk about from the Emmys. So I really love the Emmy idea. We talked about this. I think. I mean, I want to say a couple times on the show before we even knew about Metroid Dread being a new thing. Now, was like the greatness of like the SAX gameplay. How we want to like more of that in like a Fusion remake or something like that, right? If they ever went back to it, or if they did something in Metroid Dread or whatever Fusion sequel to kind of go back to that kind of gameplay, and that's exactly what they did. Like I love that Metroid Dread's like turning out kind of like in a lot of ways how we were hoping, because they're taking one of the best parts of that game, which were the chase sequences, that sense of like dread and fear of avoiding the SAX, avoiding something that's stronger than you, and they're ramping it up. Now they got a bunch of those enemies, and you're doing that a lot now. And I love that. The Emmy's such
hmm
a cool concept. I love its animation, how it just constantly like just adapting to the elevation and angles, and it just like morphs around and flips over and crawls about. It doesn't need like any weaponry, because that once you get caught, unless you get that one, the quick time, you're dead. It doesn't need to be shooting at you. It doesn't need to be going super hard either, right? Like it knows it's just gonna get you, and even has that little like robotic chirping to it, which I think adds to the creepiness, because like normally that would be cute, but because it's coming from this like murderous machine, it just makes it way more scarier. And that's one of the things I love about both like Fusion in this game, is you have an enemy that's not like evil, it's not malicious, it's just it has a job, or it's like instinct, and it just gonna kill you, because it's either this alien thing like the SAX, it's just a parasite, it's just a bug, it's just doing what it does. It's a creature, it's not an evil force. And then you have this, it's just a machine, it's programmed to hunt you down, or hunt its targets down, destroy them. You can't reason with it, which I think is the scariest thing, right? You're not going to be able to try and stop it that kind of way. It's going to get you, and it's not going to stop till it does. So that's what I really love about the Emmys. It's a really awesome design, really cool gameplay mechanics. So I'm really glad they've emphasized that in this game.
And we were saying, I think we were saying on Phase and Labs when we did that show. One of us, and I can't remember which one, said that like, I like the idea that at the time we were talking about, I think a remake of Fusion, but like and we were talking about the SAXs, and should they randomly appear and hunt you down, or should there be like sequences? And obviously that applies to Metroid Dread too, because it looks like there are going to be obviously sequences when you walk into these Emmy rooms where the Emmys are going to hunt you, and you can learn a specific pattern to avoid them. But it also does look like there is going to be a certain element of randomness, and like you do have to react. So I think that it really did give us like kind of the best of both worlds of what we were kind of hoping for in terms of that gameplay mechanic here.
Absolutely. And we saw the first E.M.M.I, which was all beaten up and whatnot, but that wasn't in an E.M.M.I room. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another E.M.M.I that wasn't in an E.M.M.I zone. I think that's what they call them. Another interesting detail that they mentioned in the treehouse. I think that I'm not sure if they mention it in that section we just covered or later, but the E.M.M.Is seem to have 3 phases. So they're, and you can tell which phase they're in based on the color of like their scanner in front of their face, like the light they're shining out. So if it's blue, they're in like surveillance, like patrol mode, like they're looking around. If you don't kind of get caught by it, you're kind of good, right? It seems. And then investigation mode, which is yellow, it's either like kind of saw you or it's heard you or kind of as an it's nearby, close enough, and it starts kind of like searching. And then obviously chase mode, it's seen you, you're caught, you're painted in red, it's in red mode, it's shining a red light, that's chase mode, it's hunting you down. So
You do not want to be in red mode.
you don't want to be in that mode. Yeah, you don't want to be in chase
No.
mode. So those are the 3 kind of phases you can look for when you're fighting against an enemy.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, we are paused right now on a beautiful backdrop of
1014. Look at
Planet
this.
CDR here.
Love
We've
it.
got some life forms in the background here. They look like, I don't know, brachiosauruses or something. They look really gorgeous. This just looks very gorgeous, actually.
Like horse-looking
lots of,
things, yeah.
Yeah, like just the it looks like there's a beach. Look like there's like some mechanical kind of spires here. It looks just absolutely stunning. This is going to be a real treat, I think, to finally play Metroid in HD. Because I mean, wow, like this background alone is just quite breathtaking.
Absolutely agree. And there are really solid details. There's some awesome attention to detail. Yeah, I think those are like big rock spires. Like you have this like the light coming down. It gives you like the effect of like volumetric lighting, like like the rays of light coming in. If you notice while you look at some of the gameplay footage, as Samus gets closer in some areas, like the creatures in the background will react and jump away and run away from Samus as she comes nearby. Like, it rains a little bit, the water's flowing, and of course, as I'm going to hit on pause here, you'll see that there's an enemy shimmering in the background, which will give us, a little bit of foreshadow, or something shimmering in the background. That'll give us a bit of foreshadowing for an engagement later on.
Just another classic case of like this game really should be called Metroid Dread because you have this beautiful landscape, you have this beautiful scenery, and you can't even enjoy it because there's something shimmering in the background. And
It's
you're just
right
like,
there, like ready to
attack
take
me
you
or
on.
what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I love
so
that. Oh, and you can see like the
it's
shadow.
awesome.
Oh, it's so good, splashing
You
around.
can see the shadow, you can see
Yeah.
the splashes of the footprints. It looks really great. And of course we have this big disgusting blob gamer thing.
They're grotesque
ruining our
looking. There's like
moment
rib
here.
cages in the background. Like I love how they've really kind of ramped that feeling up of like, okay, like you're not just fighting these arcadey like, enemies, like
Yeah.
they're it's gross. You're on like there's some stuff right down like, and the remains are here. Like you look at that enemy in the top left, right, that's like hanging there. Like it looks like those things from Half-Life. Like it looks like a face hooker or something like that. It looks. I mean, it's gross.
Oh yeah, look at the school tool are just hanging out there.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed that I do like is that the power ups or the health or whatever you want to call it that the enemies drop when you defeat them, they seem to just automatically just go towards Samus, which I really really enjoy. So we are back in looks like another Atom room here.
Yeah, Atom room. Yep.
So seeing this, I feel like I feel safe to say that Samus has Adam maybe in her arm cannon or something, and that she's injecting him into these rooms. I think that I can buy that theory. Right now, the Nintendo Treehouse guys are telling us that they don't want to show us what Adam is saying because that is going to be a spoiler. But
Spoilers, and he has voice
okay.
acting too. But yeah, I think
That's the big thing. That's the big thing.
He has voice acting, which is cool. I feel like everyone but Samus might have voice acting in this, which I'm okay with.
Yeah.
I will say though, I think earlier in the show you were saying how like maybe Samus like somehow downloaded Adam into like the planet's network. I think that's more likely than like her like injecting him into the spot every time. I think she's just kind of turning him on. And I don't know, you got to do with an arm cannon because it's Metroid. But I think that's a pretty plausible theory that like she shows up on this planet. She downloads Adam to the planet, and that's kind of how she gets a lot of information because Adam's kind
Look
of...
at those missile expansions. Those look really cool.
Yeah, I love
normally
that.
a missile expansion is just kind of, it's just a 2D missile, or it doesn't look that spectacular, but these look really, really cool, I think. Kind of Metroid Prime-y.
And I also like
Very
here,
nice.
like, I think there's going to be a sense of like while you're because this game is definitely going to be focused way more on exploring than like Metroid Fusion was. There's definitely going to be instances where like you approach like an E.M.M.I zone and you're like on your way somewhere and you're like, do I go around? Like, do I try to find a better way, or do I risk it and go through this E.M.M.I zone and try to fight my way through? I think that's a cool aspect of the game that we're gonna be playing with.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like
This
I
looks
said
like
earlier,
fun. This
it
looks like
doesn't look
fun,
like
man.
the Emmys. This does. It doesn't look like they're terribly fast. So if you do get caught, it's not like you're
At least this one,
completely
they
hooped.
could be faster later, but yeah, they don't
Yeah,
seem too
they could
fast
be.
now.
This one's like a level 1 Emmy. It looks like. So he's doing his crawling. He's chasing Samus here, but looks like we've got enough movement tools to, you know, stay away from him so far. You can see he has the yellow.
Yeah, now
on
he's kind
his,
of searching
yeah,
like kind of
he's in
based
tracker
on
mode.
I think they say they search based on like their last
Oh
like
no!
sound or image or something like that. Yep, and then get that quick time. You don't get it.
Oh,
Oh, and pierced in the throat. Like they're
oh
trying.
man!
You're trying to say that these things are trying to be friends with you last episode, bro. That
I
thing
think
was
that
trying
one
to
of them
murder
might be
him.
friendly.
Nah, dude. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
So
I'm gonna
very,
pause real
very,
quick though, but yeah, keep going. 14:10, but
I
keep
was just
going.
gonna say, so very like when you get killed, it reminds me of playing Alien Isolation when the alien finally finds you and like you're done. You know, there's kind of a nice little cutscene there, but you're done. So interesting to note that so Samus has just died here, and instead of starting from
Yes.
the last save station, we're actually starting from the beginning of the E.M.M.I door. So that's a nice little quality of life gameplay mechanic right there.
Yeah, so it seems like if you die in an E.M.M.I zone, you just go back to the right where you entered the E.M.M.I zone last. But if you die outside the E.M.M.I zone, it seems like as far as we know, I'm not entirely sure if they actually die outside an E.M.M.I zone, but it seems to me that if you die outside an E.M.M.I zone, it'll work like it does normally. You'll respawn at your latest save station. But if you die in an E.M.M.I
Right.
zone, you'll die right at the last time, where you entered. I think that's fine. I think that's good. I will admit that it is kind of tedious and annoying where you get somewhere deep into Metroid and you hadn't saved in a little bit and you run into something dangerous, you die. I'm like, oh, I gotta do all that over again. It's kind of part of the games, but like I can understand that does suck, and I don't like it every time. So if you get into an E.M.M.I zone and you die there, like I think that's okay. And maybe in harder difficulties, maybe they'll change that, so like maybe on like a higher
Well, that's
difficulty,
just it. Yeah.
like that
Yeah,
won't be a
that's just
thing.
it.
So I think that's fine for like a normal difficulty thing. Like you said, it's a quality of life addition. I think that's fine, and it gives people a chance to get right back into the action. I think which is more important as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, let's say if you want that classic challenge, you can unlock fusion mode or hard
Yeah, I'm
mode
sure
or
there will
whatever
be
it's
hard
gonna be in
mode.
this
Exactly. Yeah.
game. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
before I hit unpause, I want to say real quick here, if the bottom, if you notice, there's another one of those Chozo statues that Samus used earlier. She plugged her arm cannon into it to replenish her missiles. Just notice how those Chozo look like the Dark Chozo, like the sleeker, more menacing looking Chozo. They're not like the Chozo statues that we know from more classic and previous Metroid games. These are the more menacing looking Chozo. I think that's just an interesting detail to make note of. But anyway, I'm going to unpause.
Lots of mystery behind the planet ZDR.
Seriously,
And
I want to know
who
what
it
ZDR
belongs to
stands
and-
for.
Yeah. Mine defaults
But
to like Zebus something.
Zebus,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Zebus Dread Research Planet.
Oh my god, that's what it's gonna be though. It's gonna be Zebus Dread Research. Oh my god.
Here we go.
I
You
think
heard
that's
it here first.
that sounds so bad that that's what it's gonna be. I think, which I feel like this game is doing so many things right that like what that name for the planet, I'd be like, okay, that's fine.
They're allowed something.
Exactly, they're allowed to have a crappy planet name. Like, all right, I'll that's a pass.
I really do love Samus's baseball slide there. It just looks like such a welcome and nice feature to the Metroid games. Previously you would have had to go into Morph Ball mode, and I know
Yeah.
that like in Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion, all those games, you can get into Morph Ball really quickly and do like a mock ball, but it's just really nice, not having to make that switch if you want to go and go under something really quickly. So
Yeah,
Samus
also,
is in the water right here.
What is that, yo? Did you? I don't know if you've seen that before, but what is that thing? If you don't notice, they completely ignore it here, but they keep going, and she doesn't interact with it. It might. I don't know what that is. It might be a teleporter, is what people are thinking.
I don't know. They didn't save their game. Seems like a rookie mistake to me right there. But
There's definitely things they're
you do
ignoring
you.
and trying to be like, ah, we're gonna
Yeah,
keep going. But yeah, I'm curious what that is. Obviously, we're gonna get the gravity suit
yeah,
at some point to deal with this water.
yeah. Definitely looks like Metroid is no stranger to underwater segments here, and of course we see Samus underwater here. So safe to assume that we'll see some kind of gravity augmentation for the suit. Maybe not the gravity suit itself, but something to deal with the effects of water here.
You know, I and Sakamoto said this, I think, even in one of the developer videos. Mercury Steam has good taste. So I
Mm-hmm.
think they're going to give us really cool suit upgrades. They're giving us cool cinematics. They're giving us cool animations. They're giving us cool enemies. They're giving us, look at this, like the cool like silhouette and like the lights glowing there. Like Mercury Steam has good taste. I would not be surprised that we get some really cool suit upgrades. I don't think we're going to get the other M treatment where it's just like, oh, the suit's glowing purple now. And that's Gravity Suit. Look at her
Man,
cool
that
pose after that. It looks so
that is
awesome.
the coolest looking map room I think that I have
Yeah.
ever seen. So Arteria is the area that we're in right now on ZDR. This map room looks absolutely awesome. It looks like Prometheus,
Gorgeous.
where they have like the solar system projection going on. It looks very cool, and it shows you your item percentage right away. In some past 2D Metroid games, it wouldn't show you your item percentage until you'd actually beaten the game. I love that it shows you before, because like before I beat the game, I want to have everything. I want to have 100% items, and you can zoom in on the map too, and it looks like you can. It looks like the rooms are actually ultra detailed, and they're not just like the blocks that we kind of know and love the previous Metroid maps to be. Looks like when you're actually hovering over that room, you get a little bit of detail on it. So I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, and it definitely is more accurate to like where Samus has been in the map or in that room specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like the maps are like big too, and I like that the item percentage seems to be per region as well. So like you can go into an area and be like, oh, I might have 100% to this area, but not this area, you know. So like that's really cool. Look at the like I love the backgrounds. Like you could like look at all like the machinery in the back, the piping and
Yeah.
like all these like the inner workings of like the structure that we're in. Like it just I'm so curious, like who built this? What are they doing with any of this? It was like, did the Chozo build all of this? Did the Federation build this? Was it someone else? Like, I just
Did the
and
Emmys
like,
build it? I mean, maybe
like yeah,
they're
like in these Emmy zones, like did the like because from the website and like spoilers, like they kind of say how like the Emmys were sent here by the Federation first. So like, did the Emmys
Mhm.
gets like were the zones built by the Emmys, or like did they build the zones for them, or like did the Emmys by being in these areas that kind of by
Oh,
virtue
very
of that
cool.
become Emmy zones? Yeah, I love that slide. Like there's so much. Like I can't wait to find out what's going on.
All right, so we are getting to that dark Chozo statue that
There's
you were
another one
talking
right
about
there. Yeah.
earlier. It looks like that refills your energy, so that's very cool. Kind of looks very warrior-ish. Look at
Yeah,
this grotesque
exactly.
enemy too. Just oof.
Oh, you can like kind of like so I like how the
Mm,
slide is like a good maneuver, but you can't like it you still take damage. Like you
yeah,
can't use it to just spam right through and just get through
and
stuff.
that
Like
makes
you might be able to
sense.
but yeah, but
Oh,
that's a good well, hey, it's not I guarantee that that would have been the case. But
so
yeah,
here
it's
we
cool.
go. It looks like we have. To my eyes, this looks like a red missile door from games previous here. Let's see. Yep, that's exactly what it is. So Samus uses a missile, goes through, and we are going to continue with our adventure.
That melee is so cool.
God, that melee is just off. These things are just so gross. These blob gamer
The
guys.
the
Ugh.
new gamer.
The new gamer. This is a
New
the
Nintendo
grody
gamer.
gamer.
Okay,
Oh,
pausing
and the
right here at
classic Chozo
1930.
statue.
That's what I was about to say is that we have those like dark Chozo statues that are like they're facing the camera, they're like in a like a stern kind of pose and like look intimidating, and then we have the classic Chozo statues that are positioned classically looking at Samus, like not at the camera. Like the classic Chozo look, the older Chozo look, those look like the more benevolent, like gentle Chozo that we saw from the Chozo memories, not like the taller, sleeker, more intimidating ones. Like that's a detail right there. I love that, and I love how they look awesome. They look so cool.
They look
The
great. Yeah.
Chozo, yeah, they look awesome.
Well,
Uh,
what are we about to get right here?
let's find out. I'm hitting
Let's
on
find
pause
out.
at 1930. Here we go. So Samus jumps up. It's floating there. She jumps in and she gets the charge
We
beam.
got the charge beam there. So this is obviously very very early in our adventure here because
Yep.
that's that's one of the standard items that we're gonna have. look at this screen too. You know, the classic screen where you can see Samus and what power ups she
This
has
is
and
cool.
doesn't have.
The little
I mean,
animation that shows what it
yeah,
does. That's cool. Like that's straight out of like League of Legends right there, showing your abilities. What they do, I love that. It was a little like it was like Samus in training mode against the big new gamer or whatever that thing was.
kind of
The
nice
big
too.
crab.
In case you're getting any more abilities that might be, you know, not your standard Metroid fare
Pausing
to
here.
remind you what is going on. So
Yeah.
Dak is just paused right now. We are, my God, we are outside. There's a
Look at
bunch of
that.
beautiful trees. Looks like they got red leaves on them, but you know, of course, the big thing is in the background. There is a structure, and the structure very much resembles the eye of an E.M.M.I. Looks very, very,
Oh,
very
okay.
cool.
Okay, that's not what I was thinking at all. But yeah, I even noticed that as well. The
What were
shoulder.
you thinking?
Well, it's a big Chozo statue, so I just think it's really interesting that there's a huge Chozo
Oh,
statue
you know
like
what? Yeah, I didn't even
up.
see the other half. The other half is hidden behind the tree. Yeah, you're right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, you have the head in the middle. Yeah, yeah. But that's a good point. Like that's interesting that the shoulder pads match Samus's shoulder pads too. Like that the big like glowing green circle, but also the MEI as well. Like there are connections on all sides here. I'm like, whose side is anyone on? But I love you have like the reddish pink, like yeah, like the cherry blossom looking trees, the water falling. It looks like it's like a shrine or some kind of like
Something like
I don't
that.
know,
Yeah.
memorial or temple. Like you have these statues that again are like I don't know, because the ones on the sides they also look like the newer Dark Chozo, but kind of look like the older Chozo as well. The one in the back definitely looks like a Dark Chozo, but has like that warrior armor. We're definitely gonna be fighting a Chozo in like a power suit. I think in this game, I'm very much thinking that's gonna happen. But anyway, I just think it's so interesting how it's like up to its arms in the water in the ground, yeah, and it's like you have this like the beautiful trees and whatnot. So this is, I mean, look at this screenshot. This screen. We're at 20 minutes and 9 seconds in, and just like Samus taking on this crab. But besides that, like the background is just
Gorgeous. It's
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know what? People, I saw this online, and I wasn't even going to mention this to give them any credit, but like, I saw some people complaining about the price tag for Metroid Dread. Man, if you are complaining about this price tag, go pause the trailer, look at this screenshot, and you tell me if you should be paying $60 for Metroid Dread. Come on, give your head a shake.
I
This
just,
looks absolutely amazing.
I think that's a whole debate that we'll probably talk about on the show, maybe in its own episode in the coming weeks. But, you know, like I said, I think it's perfectly okay. I was actually pretty like I laughed when I saw those comments because, like I said right at the beginning of the show, if you don't have any at least a couple haters, you're not doing something right. And like the fact that at least some people have something negative to say about a Metroid game, but like not like other end, but like that everyone's loving it, and there are just some people that gotta say something. Like that's just like the reach that this game has. Like so many people are talking about it. Like there are gonna be some people they're gonna find some issue with it because those people exist on the internet, you know. So
Yep.
like when I see people talking about like, oh, this game's $60, whatnot. Like first of all, obviously I've been waiting for this game for 20 years. I personally have bought it 5 times already, so like I have no problem, but. And I also want to support developers who are making a franchise I like, and pay them well, whatever. It's $60, whatever it is. And obviously, some other people might not be able to afford that, and all that. That's a whole different discussion. But we've only seen what we've seen. We don't know the extent of the actual length of the game, the content, and all of that. So I think to make a judgment in any way is really, it's entirely subjective. It's based on your comfort and if you think what you've seen is convincing enough to put the pre-order down, then you do. For me, I think there's 40 minutes of gameplay footage, and they barely got into the game. Like Metroid Fusion is my favorite, one of my favorite 2D Metroid, and one of my favorite Metroid games, and you can beat that game, not speed running it, just straight up beat the game casually in like 3 hours. Like it's not a long game. But I bought that, my parents, I guess, but like I would have bought that game at full price if I was an adult back then. And my parents, like I thought it was worth the full price, and I still do to this day. So I think
Of
this game is
course.
100% going to be worth the price. I think we just scratched the surface on what we've seen. And there's always going to be contrarians. There's always going to be people on the internet. They're like, oh, this isn't worth it, blah, blah. This looks like it sucks, all that kind of stuff. Can't let it get to you. I think this game looks great. And honestly, I think almost everyone thinks this game looks awesome. And I'm looking forward to it. I don't think the $60 price tag is unqualified at all. And I think we're going to see even more from the game to further justify it. But this is just one of those moments that certainly does.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like if you don't agree with it, don't buy it, and that's no problem. If you can't, if for whatever reason you can't afford it, then don't buy it. But if you thought that there was going to be a new Metroid game, a new first person, or a new first party rather, not first person, a new first party Metroid game, and it was going to be somehow discounted because it's 2D, I think you were dreaming. But just look at the attention to detail, all of the mechanics that we've been talking about for the last almost hour here. Like this is obviously a lot of work and a lot of care has went into this. So, like you said, I want to support it in any way that I can, and I think that most people have been very receptive to that. I think it was really
Yeah.
one tweet that kind of blew up and people kind
That,
of
it's Twitter
gravitated
quote
towards
tweeting,
that.
man. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's the thing. And honestly, if you don't think this game's worth it, then don't get it. I mean that's what it is. If that's how you feel, I think that's totally valid too. Whatever. I'm excited for this game. I can't wait for it. And honestly, there are other similar games. I mean, they came out, they were full price as well. So I don't know. Hollow Knight wasn't that like $40 when that dropped. So I don't know. I'm excited for this. I think it's something we'll talk about even further. But I am gonna hit on pause at the
now let's play.
2009 moment, 2009 mark.
Look at
Samus
this!
getting
Look at this
attacked
giant
again.
crab. Oof.
Big crab butt getting attacked. So
Giant
Samus
enemy crab. There we go.
attacks the giant enemy crab at its weak point for massive damage and continues on.
There we go. So we are. So we're not just in the facility. In this on planet ZDR. We're actually in the planet ZDR. We can see some wildlife in the background. Looks like a little
Yeah, it
deer or
jumps
something
away.
like that.
Yep.
Very very cool. Look at it. Looks like we have an energy tank. Look at all the oh man, that's just so awesome. All the wildlife that you can see in the background and just the attention to detail and whatnot. Very very cool. So we're in the caverns here. Looks like almost like a sandy beach or something like that in ZDR. We got another giant enemy crab. God, just this looks so good. It looks so good.
And I like how her arm cannon has like a bit more like spacing in it. You can see the big glowing marks on the side. It heats up as she shoots it, and it starts to get like red towards like the muzzle and like the barrel. Looks really cool. Yeah, the attention to detail in this game is great, as you mentioned. Like the animals in the background, like running away. You can see like the
Fantastic.
light, like look at like the caverns. Like I love the sense of scale in this game. Like you really do feel like you're climbing up through this planet, right? Like, and we're making our way through. We're deep within and making all the way through. Like, and the backgrounds of a Metroid game, especially 2D Metroid. Look at her speed too. She's just cruising. The rooms look great. There's so many things. It's just like, there's so many things she's
And
going
now we're
through.
back to a room that I believe we were here previously in the gameplay, but maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaken. One thing that I did want to point out too. So we're obviously at the very beginning of the game. It looks like you just start off with missiles, unless I missed or unless they just didn't show Samus acquiring her first missile. But maybe even if you don't start off with missiles, obviously you acquire them very early, which is nice because we've talked about before. We don't want to always be acquiring like the same power ups at the very beginning of the game, so that's cool. And so we're just getting to an E.M.M.I zone, and they're pulling the rug out from under us. It looks like we're going to be exploring that E.M.M.I zone in part 2 of
Yeah,
the
so
gameplay here.
looks like that's it for part one right there. As we get to a big part of the presentation, big part of the game, but not just yet. But yeah, wow. I mean, so much to unpack from just 20 minutes of footage, which for me, like,
Yes.
so nice to say, right?
It was funny because we were talking about doing both parts, and
Yeah.
I don't think that was going to be feasible. But I'm so stoked to dive into part 2. I'm so stoked to dive into the Sakamoto Diary. I'm so excited to hear what everyone listening has to say. It's just like, man, it's such a great moment. I have goosebumps right now talking about it. This was just like the build up to getting this game finally, to continuing this story finally, to it was like a dream come true for me, for you, I'm sure for Metroid fans everywhere. It's hard to put into words like what this game being real means, and it's just like it's so rewarding and so exciting, to be a Metroid fan right now.
It really is. I've talked about this on Twitter and with people on, the Omega Metroid Discord and that server and our server, that I really think that Metroid Dread's going to knock it out of the park. I think Metroid Prime 4 hopefully knocks it out of the park, and we're going to be in another golden age of Metroid, man. Like, just like the 2000s or at the beginning of another decade, maybe this decade, we're going to get a bunch of, way more awesome Metroid games. I would absolutely love that. I have a good feeling, and honestly, from what I've seen, this game looks fantastic. Not just from a gameplay perspective, but I have just so many questions, like good questions about like the story, like how Samus ended up here, like how all this is happening, what's happening, how are the Chozo involved, how the Federation involved. Like there's so many aspects of the story at play, and like it feels like it's just unraveling like exactly how we were hoping that it's following the story, but it's setting up something new for future 2D Metroid games, which they said that they're pretty much going to be doing. Yes. Like it's like this, they're literally nailing it. Like they're you have like Samus looks like a badass again. Like she looks so cool, and like the gameplay looks so much fun. Like they're building and evolving on iterating on what Samus Returns did, but still making the game accessible. They're calling it Metroid Dread and Metroid 5. Like bro, they're absolutely nailing it, man. I'm truly blown away that the game exists, but I'm even more blown away that they're like really like doing it well, and it's not just like Metroid Dread in name, So I cannot wait for this game. I can't wait to go through part 2 of this presentation with you, man. I can't wait to go through the dev diary. There's so much more to go through, and many more details to unpack in the coming weeks. You said a couple weeks, and we're gonna be talking about this for months. I feel like
we're gonna be talking about this till October. Like
exactly.
This hype train is full steam, full bore ahead, and I'm here for it. You're here for it. Right before we get off here, I was actually thinking about this last night. Where like, when we did our Metroid 5 prediction or like story, what we wanted on the Omega Metroid podcast, and also on the podcast that we were a guest on last week, a lot of what both of you and I kind of said we wanted to happen looks like it is happening here in various stages.
Bro, ways, if all of you go back and listen to my pitch for Metroid 5, I'm telling you, I like called so much of this, dude. Like once they said, "Oh yeah, it's on a new planet," I'm like, "Oh my god, they're finding this planet." Like, "Oh, it's coming out exactly." I cannot wait for more story details, bro. I cannot wait to play this game, and I can't wait to just run in and start. I want to kick some new gamers, man. Those gamers look very dash meleeable, man. I just want to go in there and just kick them. They look great.
They look absolutely disgusting. And once you kind of dash melee them with your arm cannon, they blow up. I feel like that's going to be a very rewarding feeling. Something I'm going to be chasing for a while. So, yeah, I can't wait. We're going to do part 2. Yes. Very, very soon. Maybe next week we'll figure that out. We'll do some listener Q&A as well, and of course we'll do the Sakamoto Diaries. With so much to do, so much to talk about here on the Omega Metroid podcast. But that is going to do it for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening, and of course head on over to Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Like and subscribe, and share it. Share this podcast with a Metroid fan in your life. This last week was one of the best weeks for the podcast ever, so thank you guys so much. Let's keep that going. If you know a Metroid fan in your life that's excited for Metroid Dread, tell them about the Omega Metroid podcast, and tell them where they can get their weekly Metroid fix. You can check us out over on Twitter at Omega Metroid Pod. I am at Spiteri316, and Dak is at DakCity_. That's going to do it for this week, but we will see you guys back here next week with some more Metroid Dread content. Until then, everybody, take care.